In August 2016, an entire Australian family suddenly disappeared. Not just one member, not just a child, the whole family, a father, a mother, and their 3 adult children, all vanished in a single bizarre escape from reality. They left their phones, credit cards, and even passports behind. What began as an unexplained road trip turned into one of the strangest cases in modern Australian history. Why did they all flee their home at once? And what caused them to spiral into shared paranoia? This is the mystery of the Tromp family road trip, the case where 5 people seemingly lost their minds overnight. And not everyone came back the same. It started quietly in Sylvan, a rural town in Victoria, Australia. The Tromp family was respected, ordinary. They ran a successful berry farm and lived away from the spotlight. Mark and Jacoba Tromp were hardworking parents. Their 3 children, Rihanna, Ella, and Mitchell, helped on the farm. But on Monday, August 29, 2016, everything changed. Without telling anyone, the entire family piled into a car and vanished. They left behind their mobile phones, credit cards, and identification documents. Everything you'd need for a normal trip. They didn't leave a note. They didn't pack for a vacation. They just drove, and no one, not even their closest friends or extended family, knew why. The Tromp family's escape was not just a sudden road trip. It was a descent into confusion. After they vanished from their property in Sylvan, the family drove over 1,600 kilometers across southeastern Australia. Their direction made no clear sense. They weren't heading toward a vacation spot or a family emergency. They were just driving fast, erratic, with no real destination. The first strange decision came just a few hours in. All of them abandoned their mobile phones at once, deliberately leaving their devices in the car so they couldn't be tracked. They were convinced someone was watching them, or worse, following them. Somewhere near the town of Bathurst, Mark and Jacoba's mental state began to spiral. Their paranoia had now infected the entire family. They accused each other of being followed, of not being safe. They were convinced that unknown forces, maybe government agents, maybe something darker, were after them. At that point, Mitchell, the eldest son, couldn't take it anymore. He left the family and boarded a train back to Melbourne. He was the first to break free. Hours later, Ella and Rihanna, the 2 daughters, also left their parents behind in the car, but they didn't return home. Instead, they drove to Goulburn, where things got even more disturbing. While in Goulburn, the sisters stopped at a gas station to refuel, and that's when Rihanna Tromp completely broke down. Witnesses described her behavior as bizarre and distressed. She was disoriented, anxious, and unable to communicate clearly. She eventually climbed into the back of a stranger's truck and curled into a fetal position, refusing to come out. Concerned for her safety, bystanders called police. Rihanna was taken into psychiatric care. Ella, meanwhile, kept driving, but it didn't take long before she herself was arrested. Authorities stopped her after she stole a car. Yes, stole a vehicle from a stranger, continuing her journey in a stolen SUV like she was running from something that no one else could see. By now, the Tromp family story was national news. The media dubbed it the family road trip that went wrong. But the deeper you looked, the more unsettling it became. It was no longer just about a family who disappeared. It was about how 5 people, at the same time, collapsed into shared madness. While their children were now scattered across New South Wales and Victoria, Mark and Jacoba, the parents, continued driving aimlessly. Eventually, they were separated too. Jacoba was found wandering the streets of Yass, dazed and confused. She was taken to a hospital and placed under observation for suspected mental illness. Mark, now completely alone, fled into the wilderness near Wangaratta. He was last seen running into dense bushland after abandoning the family vehicle. Residents spotted him in their backyard, barefoot, dirty, muttering to himself. He was reportedly hiding behind a bush before running off again. Police launched a massive search to find him. When he was finally located days later, he was arrested for stealing a car battery, but he wasn't charged. Just like the rest of the family, Mark seemed lost, mentally fractured, paranoid, and terrified of something that didn't exist. Within a week of the bizarre road trip, all 5 Tromp family members had been found and brought to safety. None of them, not one, could explain what had happened. There was no history of drug use, no signs of foul play, no religious or cult influence, and yet their mental unraveling had been real. So real, in fact, that 3 of them, Rihanna, Jacoba, and Mark, were placed under psychiatric observation. Ella and Mitchell, who appeared the most stable, eventually returned home, but they refused to give detailed statements to the public. In a brief interview, Mitchell said, "It's very hard to explain. I still can't even understand it myself." No charges were laid. The police closed the case as a mental health matter. But the public wasn't satisfied, because the real question was never about what they did. It was, why did they all go mad at the exact same time? The Tromp case remains one of the most bizarre mass psychosis events in recent memory. Several theories have emerged, but none are conclusive. Some psychologists believe the Tromps may have suffered from a rare phenomenon called folie à famille, shared delusional disorder within a group. Usually this only occurs between 2 people, often in close relationships. But in rare cases, entire families can descend into a shared state of paranoia and irrational fear. If one influential person in the family, possibly the father, believed they were in danger, and the others trusted him deeply, the paranoia could have spread like wildfire. Some have speculated that the Tromps were exposed to pesticides or environmental toxins on their farm, possibly causing neurological effects, hallucinations, or temporary psychosis. But tests showed no toxins in their systems. Still, some believe a chemical reaction or mold contamination could have triggered neurological symptoms before they fled. The farm was under financial pressure. Running a business in isolation may have contributed to prolonged stress. Was this a mental break fueled by years of buried anxiety? Possibly, but all 5 at once. That's not typical. A darker theory suggests the family may have learned or discovered something that sparked fear. A government conspiracy? Secret data? Paranormal belief? There's no evidence, just internet speculation. But it lingers, because the truth has never been explained. The Tromp family didn't just go on a road trip. They went on a psychological detour into a space most of us hope we'll never visit. The edge of mental collapse. And they didn't go alone. They all went there, together. And that's what makes this story so disturbing. This wasn't the breakdown of one unstable person. This was 5 people, a father, a mother, and 3 grown children, who all spiraled into confusion, fear, and irrational behavior within a matter of days. That level of synchronized psychological collapse is incredibly rare, and it forces us to ask questions that most people don't want to think about. Can a human mind break down not because of trauma, but because of influence? Can fear, just fear, spread like a virus through people who love and trust each other? Can a belief, whispered by someone close, become so powerful that you begin to see the threat yourself? Psychologists might call it folie à famille, shared psychosis. But that's a label, a name we give to things we don't fully understand. It doesn't explain what the Tromps were thinking in that car, what they saw, or thought they saw, as they fled into the unknown. They believed someone was watching them. That much is clear. But who? Or what? They left behind their phones and IDs to avoid tracking. They didn't want to be found. But why would a successful, private, mentally healthy family suddenly behave like fugitives? Was it a gradual descent into paranoia? Or was there a trigger, something they discovered, read, or believed that unraveled their sense of reality? The official answer is mental illness. But there was no prior history, no documented trauma, cult involvement, or substance abuse. No loss, no scandal, no warning signs. And that's where the fear sets in. Because if this can happen to a normal, functional family living a quiet life in rural Australia, could happen to anyone. Could one anxious thought, repeated in a closed loop of family conversations, ignite a fire that no one sees coming until it's too late? The Tromp family didn't just disappear physically. They disappeared mentally. One by one, they peeled off, each one separating from the group at different stages of the journey, like fragments of a broken mirror, scattered across the country. Even when they were found, the answers didn't come. The family refused to speak in detail about what happened. There were no grand apologies, no press tours. They returned to their farm, locked the gates, and stayed silent. And maybe that's the scariest part, because most mysteries come with some kind of closure. But this one didn't. The case was closed by police, declared a mental health incident, and pushed out of the headlines. But the mystery remains, and we're left to wonder, if 5 people can fall into the same hallucination, if reality can be rewritten by trust and fear alone, what else are we capable of believing? What's really protecting us from slipping into that same spiral? Maybe nothing. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't madness at all. Maybe the Tromps saw something we never will. Or maybe we already have, and we just don't recognize it yet.